You also say here, women don't need men. Do you want to elaborate a bit on that?
I don't think that women, like, a lot of people think that women need men in, like, society to maintain society, and I don't think so. I think women would be perfectly fine. I think women would do better off without men.
I agree to that.
How about this
would
scenario?
do without women.
Well, so let me ask you a couple clarifying.
Really?
Hold on, let me ask a couple clarifying questions here. What about this scenario? If men just instantly disappeared, or women instantly disappeared, because your position is men would fare worse than the women. So in that scenario where it's not like, oh, okay, men are going to disappear in like a year, but it's like men disappear tonight and there's no ability for the women to prepare, you think the women fare better?
Definitely.
Why?
Because I think, first of all, I think men's society would it would go stagnant. I think the reason why men have done as much as they've done so far is for women and because of women. And so women, on the other hand, are quite motivated outside of men. Older women who are, divorced and don't plan on getting in relationships anymore still maintain their lifestyle. They still keep their places clean. They still, they still maintain.
Here, a couple more questions. Who here agrees with her on this? Just curious. Anybody agree? So instantaneously, all men disappear, or instantaneously, all women disappear. Her position is men would fare worse in that scenario than women. Who agrees with her?
There was like a study on that with kids. I know, like, I still think that men and women, like, should.
Do you remember what the study was called by chance?
I don't.
I saw it.
But it was like elementary schoolers, or maybe it was middle schoolers, but they were in like a house for a couple of days, just girls, and then versus guys, and the girls actually did a lot better than just the boys. And that is what
was the age of the children?
I'm pretty sure they were in middle school.
Okay, I don't see how that pertains
to
this. Does anybody else agree with her? Going once, going.
She agrees.
Who? You agree?
Yeah.
And you agree. Okay. And then you mentioned that women, they keep their houses in good shape, right?
Yeah.
But what happens in this scenario when within 72 hours there's no electricity, there's no food, the water stops working, there's fires that break out, and you don't have male firefighters to put these fires out. So let's assume like a woman loses her residence. What then?
Women know how to collect food. I mean, back when we were hunter-gatherers, the gatherers, being women, would
you think the
provide
average urban woman knows how to collect food in the forest?
Yeah, that's what women used to do.
They used to do, but that was like taught. It's not like you can't just drop somebody who's lived in civilization their entire life into the forest. Like, do you think an average?
Then that would go for both men and women.
Yeah, I don't think the average man would do that.
No, because even then there's a strength discrepancy. So you take like a man who's grown up in an urban environment and a woman who's grown up in an urban environment. They both have like very little knowledge, just on the basis that men have more strength, generally speaking. The man's already in an advantage.
In what way? Like, what is that strength going to do for him?
You don't think early human beings relied on like strength and labor to move? Like, okay, I want to chop down a tree. I need to chop up this firewood. I need to move these materials to this position.
I think women could work as a team, like community.
Well, in this scenario, I'm thinking like one-on-one, but even then, 2 women don't possess the same strength as 2 men. Or 3 women don't possess the same strength as 3 men.
Right, but I don't think you need to have like some incredible degree of strength. I think that as long as you have a community, you have a tribe, you'd be fine. It doesn't really matter what level of strength there is. I think women have enough strength to survive on their own.
What was the question?
Would you be interested in a real social experiment then? Let's say you get 12 of your girlfriends who have even survival skills. Let's say they have survival skills.
I don't even think I have 12.
We'll collect 12 men who have survival skills. Or we can collect 12 who don't to 12 women. and then give them just a knife apiece and send them off into the wilderness.
I mean, they already do this. Do you watch Naked and Afraid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they all
How
have.
did the women do?
They actually did do this. So
How did the women do?
Women survive just fine by themselves.
No, they went over to the men during the exact same social experiment I'm talking about, which didn't include 12-year-olds, okay, when they were fully grown adults. And here's what happened.
They
The
did this
women
in a
were
Mr.
crying,
Beast video.
they were freezing, and they went over and begged the men to help them. And the men finally did. And I see no reason why that would not be the case. And by the way, these were all ages of men, all ages of women, and they failed miserably. Miserably.
I've seen episodes where the women have hunted and caught like large kills, and and the women, they do get multiple seasons.
I'm not disputing that women can't do in groups and teams. I mean, women are not stupid. I'm sure that they can hunt. But it's the degree to which you're effective at the thing that matters. So when Brian says strength, I don't even think that you realize what he's saying. When you're talking about all the labor jobs which keep society going, that requires a great degree of physical strength. And physical strength is multiplied by multiple men. Oh, you don't think so? You think it's just done by machines? The nice thing about
most of it
machines
is,
that machines take a great amount of physical strength to use. You have a gal here who said she was in maintenance, yeah? She'll tell you, if you want to pick up a 400-pound machine motor, it's really heavy, just so you know. It's not an easy feat. So I don't know where you get the idea that raw strength is not still the staple of human labor, because it still is. We have labor-saving devices, but strength is still very much key in labor.
Sure, but
Also, just you do acknowledge that there's discrepancies in terms of representation when it comes to critical infrastructure jobs, right?
Sure, yeah.
So, like, for example, like water, I've got a list here: water, sewage, electricity, gas, fuel refinement, garbage collection, telecommunications, IT infrastructure, road maintenance, truck and delivery drivers, police, fire rescue. These are predominated by men. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just factually true. So if all men disappear instantly, there's not enough women in these fields to essentially, there's not enough women in the fields where if they just disappeared immediately, it would just be it would be a complete catastrophe. And I mean, you'd have electricity gone within 72 hours, telecommunications gone within 72 hours. Women are not in those fields when like there's a snowstorm or a hurricane and the power's out and it's below freezing in Bozeman, Montana, and they got to fix the power lines, or they got to fix something. They got to check the grid at 1 a.m. and it's snowing and hailing outside. Is it a woman who goes, or it's a man? It's always a man.
Okay, so what happened during World War II when men had to go to war and women had to take over the jobs?
Women had, first
Did
of
we
all, not
lose
all
electricity?
women, not all men went to World War II.
Right.
Women stepped up to some degree, but they also had plenty of time to prepare for it. In the scenario I provided, men disappeared instantly. Mm-hmm. So in that scenario, women would not be able to like, oh, okay, we're just going to take over the water, the sewage, the telecoms. There wouldn't be enough women who have the knowledge base or even necessarily the physical capacity to even do some of these jobs, even if they did have the knowledge base.
I think they would. I mean, we still have the internet. Women are dominating education.
The internet would be down within 72 hours.
Why?
Do you realize how often like there needs to be maintenance?
Because you seeing the internet runs on electricity, and if there's no more electrical workers,
there's no female electricians.
The vast, overwhelming amount of them are men. I'm talking vast. I think it's like 98%. In fact, I think 100% of linemen. Last I checked, linemen. Those are the people who put up your power poles. I think they're all men.
Right.
It was like decimal point. That wasn't men.
Right. Maybe you're right. Maybe it would go out. There wouldn't be enough women to sustain. But I think over time women would evolve and we would get it
Well, you have one generation, because without men you're basically going to go extinct, and unless of course you decide that you're going to use frozen male sperm, and then only keep the women, but you're going to run out eventually. So then I guess you would have to have men, so that men could then re-inseminate you at some point. And then the second you have men to do that, you have the problem of they're really fucking strong and may decide that you get to go in the cages. So I don't really know. I don't really know like how this is, even feasible from the female standpoint. If all men disappeared tomorrow, it seems to me like this would be dire and catastrophic for women. Not exactly sure how it would be for men.
We don't need it anyway. The stuff you're talking about.
Right. I mean, we've survived as societies without electricity.
You do realize
your body was conditioned for this. So you're talking about conditions. So if you live in a world, like if you go to the third world, for instance, have you ever seen what's called the third world squat? That now, if you just took that normal squat sitting position that almost everybody sits in the third world all day long, your calves would be killing you within about 20 minutes, and you'd have to get back up because most people don't sit like this, right? We sit on chairs, which is actually bad for our back. They're actually conditioned for this movement because they were raised in an environment for the movement. The soles of their feet are conditioned to not have shoes. They were raised in an environment for that. Everything about them is conditioned for the environment that they're in. That is not the case anymore. You're not conditioned to go out in the forest and find fucking berries, okay? Modern women are not conditioned to do that.
Neither are modern men. Modern men mostly would not have these survival skills either.
Modern men keep up forestry. Modern men keep up physical conditioning for outdoor jobs and outdoor work and outdoor foraging and hunting and things like that. Women do not.
And there are women who do these jobs too.
Very few.
So I live in Bozeman, Montana, and I can tell you that if men disappeared, some people will say, we don't need these amenities to survive. There's a large surplus of the population that lives in a climate where if these things disappear, millions and millions of people would just die. So like Brian said, if they had time to prepare, if females have time to prepare, they can obviously make that happen. But I think to say that if men just disappeared, women would be fine.
We're already prepared, though. Like, we already have education. We already have food in grocery stores. We would have time to figure it out.
But hold on. Wait. Hold on. One thing. So, right. But, like, if all men disappeared, how quickly are you going to the grocery store and looting everything? Right? How quick until all that food's gone? And then... One, you're going to have bands of women who are just maybe collectively get together. They're going to take everything. And you don't have police. So if there's women who are inclined to violence, there's nobody who's going to be able to enforce any of the laws. And then secondly, hold on. Once that food is gone, where's the farmers who are going to cultivate it? 90% of truck drivers are men. I don't know if that's the exact number. The majority of truck drivers are men. Transport. How do they get to the grocery store? How do they get to Trader Joe's?
I mean, again, so we wouldn't have as much of a population to sustain because half of the population would be gone, right? And then also, I think women are just, I think women are quite civilized. I don't think we are just going to go in and start looting things and like,
whoa,
I think we can share. Hold on. I think we can.
Wait, hold on. Do you realize society is like, what did they say? Like 6 meals away from pure chaos?
Yeah.
Like, once people are hungry, once they're thirsty, you think women aren't going to start killing each other? Really?
I mean, we would still maintain society initially, like money and, women work in grocery stores and stuff. Like, we're not just going to immediately go stealing things and stuff like that.
I think that's exactly what would happen.
People are going to loot immediately.
Just because there's no men?
You got Jeffrey Dahmer.
No,
it's like a Thanos thing. They disappear. You can't eat the body.
For the sake of your own survival, you wouldn't just go immediately like looting the grocery store?
No, because there would be other women with weapons.
Listen, I'm going to give you credit where credit is due. We can just take a look at the top 10 female jobs, and we know you're right. Human resource managers, they're going to be really good. Dental hygienists, can't wait for them. Nurse practitioners, physical therapists, physician assistants, veterinarians, child care workers, healthcare administrators, marketing managers, medical scientists. This means you're part of a research crew. Guess what's not there? You'll never guess. Construction worker, lineman, any type of mechanical engineer, any type of labor whatsoever. women tend to gravitate towards childcare and nursing and administrative jobs and clerical work. They don't gravitate towards any of the jobs that you're talking about. So how useful do you think human resource managers are going to be in the female apocalypse exactly?
I will teach you how to sail, and we can just sail away.
How many people fit on your
fish.
boat? How many people fit on your boat?
Comfortably, like with a bed, or like they're on the floor.
But who's gonna farm the food
Here,
that
pull
you
it up.
bring with
Okay,
you?
Pull it up, Damien.
so I
Hold
have
on.
a spear
It doesn't
gun.
matter. It doesn't matter. Pull it up, Damien.
I have a spear gun,
Bigger.
so you can
Bigger.
Great. cut that off.
All right, so this is the top 20 most dangerous use occupations and the percentage of male. So logging workers, 94% male, fishing workers, 99% male, aircraft pilots, roofers, truck drivers is 94% male, iron and steel workers, 98% male, farmers and ranchers, 70, so for the food, 75%, agricultural workers, 79%, mining, landscaping, construction workers, 97%. Move us to the other side. Cement and concrete manufacturing, that's not super important, but electrical, for the apocalypse scenario, smaller. I need to just hide us totally.
But
Just hide us
Brian,
totally. Hold on.
Brian,
Hold on.
bro.
Electrical power line workers, 99%. Police officers, 85%. Maintenance repair workers, 97%. And those are the pertaining to the apocalypse scenario. Go ahead, Andrew.
But could they do that, Brian, without their human resource managers? Really? Could they?
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like women don't really occupy those jobs because of the patriarchy and because of gender stereotypes that we have in society. Like, I feel like if men disappeared, like women wouldn't really be catering their life to like, oh, I want a family. And stuff like that.
We can prove this. Pull up the Discord. Go to like the Men at Work tab. We have some videos here that we can show you. You got it?
Of what?
Men at Work tab. And then
Patriarchy is preventing you from being a logger?
put on the Windows
Definitely.
Windows
I
tab.
mean, aren't
and then
women pushed
we
out
need
of those
our
jobs?
video back.
By who?
Show us.
By the people who hire.
Right big.
Due to sexism.
That works.
Due to the fact
Here,
that they're
scroll
not
up.
strong enough to do logging?
Let's see here.
They have machines
Well, I'm not
for logging.
necessarily-
Scroll up, all the way to the top, and the Burj Khalifa stuff. That's
I'm
not
not-
really.
There's no
scroll down.
strength in it.
What
Scroll
is
down.
that?
Scroll down. Scroll down. The first line worker one. Play that one. So this is a guy doing some work on the line in snowing, and it looks like, I don't know, that's 100 feet plus? I don't know.
He better be getting paid
Is it the
$500K a year.
patriarchy that's preventing women from doing this job?
No, that's
Honestly,
men.
that looks
Men
like so
are
much
being
fun, like
protectors,
one
and they would
time.
never let a
Or-
woman do that job, or they're not a man.
What are you
So,
talking about? Okay.
No man would let a woman take on that job.
Because
That's
we're
just-
sexist,
No,
or because
they're
we're
men, 'cause they're
chivalrous?
chivalrous.
Nothing is preventing women from doing this job. They just don't want to do it.
I will say there are
X out of it.
there are a lot of women
Here,
that
play that. The North
I mean,
Sea
I
compilation.
agree. Women don't want to do those jobs.
the top
but
one.
I would totally do that. Totally.
Okay, if you would totally do it, go do it. Go do it. I'll give you $1,000 if you do the shit for
I
a
couldn't
month.
afford lineman school.
wait for the fishermen because I will totally do that.
No, do this.
The North Sea.
Yes,
Okay.
do this.
Oh, no, yeah.
You go do it for 3
No,
months.
that's actually
Go on
that,
an oil
it
rig.
takes like 3 years to
I-
be able to do that because the metal workers that's an extreme
Oh, okay.
job right
Total
there.
cop out. Go
That's
ask
not
if
a
there's a
cop-out,
job.
that's
Go
a-
ask. Yeah, it is a cop out. Go ask if there's
Okay,
a
well,
job.
my job is
Stop.
male-dominated.
Go ask if there's a job on an oil rig for you to take. Go do it. X out of that.
Sailing is male dominated, and the skills
That's cool.
that I'm
Right, and
learning are
another
also
reason-
male dominated. That doesn't stop
Scroll
me
down.
from doing them. I
Right.
steer
Scroll down.
fish. That's also male dominated.
Here,
that doesn't
click
stop me
on
from
the
doing
manhole.
that.
Well, did
manhole one.
the patriarchy prevent you from being a sailor?
No,
Women-
and I never
Women
said
don't
it
want to
did.
do this.
Women don't wanna
just
work with
don't wanna
men.
do this. There's nothing preventing. There's nothing preventing a woman from doing this job.
Women don't want to work
X-
with
X
men.
out.
Women don't want to be sexually harassed at work and
Oh, nice.
made fun of
Wow,
or
good
treated
job.
like a
You just
lesser
shifted
person.
the goalposts.
If you were
It's
married,
not.
Shifted the
There's
goalposts.
multiple reasons
No,
why
you
women
said
don't
the
take these
patriarch-
jobs.
Oh, the patriarchy is
Yeah, the
preventing
patriarchy
women.
has to do with that.
That's
Can I-
totally
that has to do
speak
with
on
the
this?
patriarchy.
And that's it. We've shown enough.
May I
but-
speak on this just for a second? So being somebody who has a lot of male-dominated skills, right? Like I've started spearfishing about 2 years ago. That's something that's definitely male-dominated. Like fishing in general is male-dominated. Now that's more of like a hobby than like a job. I don't do these for my jobs. But, you know, you can, if you are in a scenario of, oh, like, you know, can a woman do these things? She can do these things. Is it a majority of women? No, and I'm not going to argue that. That's a stupid point compared to the, you literally have the data right there.
But when you, hold on, no. When you say fishing,
yeah.
Do you mean you throw out a line and you reel the fish? Do you know how physically laborious
I understand.
commercial fishing is?
No, I do. I have a lot of friends who are fishermen because they're in the, okay.
But were you stopped by men
No,
when
I
you
never
wanted
said
to
I
pursue
was.
these
What I'm
things?
saying is that like if you want to do these things as a woman, you can. Like there might be a strength barrier that you'd have
But
to go
we're
to the
talking
gym
about
and
a
get past.
survival situation.
In a survival situation, I would be fine personally, because again, I live on a boat. I own my own boat. It's able to get power from my engine, which I've learned how to fix. I have solar, which supplements the battery for that,
Yeah,
which
where are
I
you
have
gonna
DC
get fuel?
power. Fuel, that's fair, honestly. How am I going to get fuel? I have a sailboat, so I can sail if I run out of fuel. You know, I've got plenty of canned goods. I've got a spear gun. I know how to spear fish. I can go underwater for it. I can fish above water, too. I can get my meat there. I've learned how to fish like that, how to literally fillet the fish, how to eat that way.
Okay,
like,
cool. I'm
it
sorry,
would
I have to
work.
cut you off here. Going back to the original conversation.
I wasn't here for that.
Huh?
I wasn't here for the beginning of that, so I don't know how this started.
She made the claim that women would do better in
I'm not arguing that. I don't.
You got
I
to
don't
let me
think that's
finish
true.
before you keep interrupting.
Okay.
So she made the claim that women would fare better in a situation where like all men disappeared, and we're presenting evidence to the contrary. My position here is not would some women on the individual level, would they be able to survive? Women can have survival skills. They can have all the skills you listed. I don't doubt that you have any of them. Congratulations. We're talking about like the macro level, like societal level catastrophe that would occur in a situation where all men or all women disappeared. And because of men's overrepresentation in critical infrastructure fields, my position is it would be absolute chaos in the event if all men disappeared. Whereas if all women disappeared, that would be terrible. It'd be the end of the human species. But all the critical infrastructure, we would keep that going, and we would have a much higher standard of living if all women were to disappear than the reverse.
Yeah, I do think it would kind of be like Lord of the Flies, but I do agree with you.
I think
where
most men would just be, you know, living in a shoebox once women disappears. What's the motivation? What's the reasoning anymore?
Wait, but don't you think it's a little bit hypocritical to say that women aren't, or women don't get into jobs like that, like being a lineman and working on oil rigs because they're scared that they're going to be sexually harassed by men, like when you do OnlyFans?
How would that be contradicting? Yeah.
Well, because you're basically saying that women aren't trying to be sexually harassed when aren't OnlyFans models. Isn't that essentially what you're putting yourself out there? Even if you're not trying to get sexually harassed, isn't that the job where you are going to get sexually harassed the most?
I mean, I haven't been sexually harassed. I don't necessarily think you would be
So
sexually
you
harassed.
really think that men sexually, or women's fear of getting sexually harassed by men is what keeps them out of jobs like that?
Yeah, like women just don't want to be in working jobs with men where they would feel like a lesser person, they would be underestimated, stuff like that.
But in this case, in those jobs, like they are weaker, so they would be necessarily lesser, correct?
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. I don't think it's about sexual harassment. I think it is about strength and also just like who is
I'm
funneled
super
into
confused,
the
though.
point.
If that's the case, if that's the argument, why wouldn't women just start their own firms and compete with these male firms? And with all women who, if you really have women who really want to do these jobs, then if a woman started this firm, they should have a limitless amount and could compete very easily by even offering slightly lower wages than the male competitors. These
Yeah,
women
I
are
think
desperate to get in to these jobs because they don't want to be sexually harassed by these men. You could have an all-female firm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what turns women away from working these kinds of jobs. But I think like, again, gender stereotypes and gender roles in society plays a huge part in this. Like, generally, with, historically, what we've told women.
Okay, wait,
places.
one argument at a time before you've been like a tube of toothpaste. We squeeze here and you just move there. I squeeze there, you move here. So back on this argument, we'll stay with it. Can you answer why it is that if it is the case that you believe that there's just tons of women who want to do these jobs are just excluded due to the fact that
I don't think there is.
Hey, let me finish the question. That they're excluded because they think they're going to be sexually harassed. Why wouldn't they just start female firms and then make a killing, paying them slightly less than the competitor?
Yeah,
The world's a
again, because
monopoly.
I don't think women do want to do those jobs.
Well, then why did you earlier say that the reason that there's a barrier for entry into these jobs, and I have witnesses here who can confirm this, one smiling because he clearly heard the same thing I did, that you said the barrier for entrance is that they did not want to be sexually harassed by the evil men.
Because that would be the reason why a lot of women would be deterred from those jobs or wouldn't get into those jobs in the first
Madam,
place.
you just
But
got
I don't
caught with
necessarily
what I like
think
to
there's a
call
large.
bullshit. You were
Wait,
bullshitting
hold on. I don't necessarily think there's some large group of women who want to do these jobs. I just think that maybe there would be women who would do them, but they just wouldn't do them because it's male dominated.
How about we hear from
so
a woman
you're saying
who,
that women gravitate naturally towards jobs that aren't like these, but somehow
Not naturally, no.
post-apocalypse-
I don't think it's
in the
natural.
post-apocalyptic world where there's tons of women who don't gravitate towards these jobs, they're going to do better than men. Can you explain logically how that works?
can we hear from a woman who's actually in the field with a lot of men?
I would like to finish real quick.
Okay, but she's got
I know, and we can get to her in just a
Okay.
second. I'd like to finish the line of inquiry here. So back to this, can you explain to me logically, just break it down very quickly, how it could possibly be that if you now agree that women just don't gravitate towards these jobs, you would have to necessarily agree that they don't want to do them, they don't have interest in them. So how is it that they would fare better, but in a post-apocalyptic, non-male world exactly?
Because there would be no men. They wouldn't be scared to enter these jobs due to.
But wait, I thought you just said they didn't want to do these jobs. It wasn't a matter of
Yeah, but there
fear,
would be a
because
need
that's why
for
I
it
went through the
now.
whole
They don't
firm
want to
thing.
do it because most women think, oh, I want a family or whatever, and I want to be seen as a feminine woman. But, they want to be feminine and do all these traditionally feminine things.
So
If there
now
were
it's
no
a
men
cultural
around,
issue. And there's no barrier for entry.
It's like a
they're
mixture
just
of
not
both.
interested, and we have a cultural problem.
it's a mixture of both.
It's a mixture of both now. So so then you do agree that most women just don't want to do these jobs.
Yeah.
So then how would they fare better when they don't even gravitate with an interest towards these types of things than men who do clearly have an interest in these things? Aren't you going to be better at your work if you're interested in the work?
Well, I never said that women would do better in these jobs.
No.
Women's
You did say
society would do
women,
better.
Quote, women would fare better than men. Just pointing that out.
Yeah, in
You did say
general,
that
not
is
in
your
these
position.
specific occupations.
Yeah, how could that be if women don't gravitate towards those things and men do? Aren't men going to naturally be better at them then because they're interested in them?
Because the reason why women don't gravitate towards these things is because it's male dominated and because women are not encouraged to be in those kinds of jobs
You
under
just
the matriarchy.
got done. You just contradicted yourself because first your argument was no, it's not that the barrier for entry is. Otherwise, we would have female firms that would compete. Rather, it's a small minority of women who have interest in these jobs and they gravitate towards these other jobs because of the interest they have in those jobs instead. So if that is the case, we have now deduced using inductive reasoning that you believe most women don't have an interest in these jobs. If that is the case, why do you think post-apocalyptically suddenly they would just have an interest? They would be interested.
They wouldn't be interested. There would just be
Right.
a need for it. So they
Right.
women would
I agree there'd be a
naturally.
need for it. They just wouldn't be interested in it. So the thing
There
is,
would be
how could you say they would be
incentives
better
for
at
women
it? Then?
to
It makes
get
no
into
sense.
these jobs, and eventually society would adapt.
It's kind of like
How
what
would
we're supposed to
society
do.
adapt
Hold
if
on.
they have no interest in the job? They only are gravitating based around need, and they don't
I
have the
already
interest.
answered your
if
question.
it is the case that people have interest in a job, they do better at that job. Yeah.
Women aren't interested in these jobs because of traditional gender
Wait, but
roles. If we
Andrew-
get rid of the other
You-
gender,
you're
there is no need
that's
for
a
that.
continuous contradiction. It
It's
can't
not
be
a- it's
both.
not a con-
Listen,
it's not a contradiction.
I'll show you. It cannot be both. Oh, because of traditional gender roles are not interested, and okay, at the same time, well, it's just that men gravitate towards it because they're interested. So you got to pick. pick
Yeah,
now.
the reason why they're
Is it the
interested
case
is
that
because
women
of traditional
would
gender roles.
normally-
I don't
hang
see
on,
what's
hang
so hard to
on.
comprehend.
Is it the case that women would normally be interested in these jobs and they're just not because men, or is it the case that they're just not interested in these jobs? Which is it?
They're not
Pick
because
one.
of cultural, like our culture, basically.
Okay, so you believe that if we had like a massive government program which incentivized women to do these jobs, that women would be gravitating towards these jobs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. We already have that. Why aren't they?
What do you mean?
I mean, we have massive government programs, including affirmative action, including government stipends, government grants, including for the First Navy SEAL. Millions of dollars were spent to find one. Overwhelmingly, the government has spent hundreds of billions of dollars in affirmative propaganda to get women into male positions, and they don't want it. One such example you could find would be in the Nordic nations, where there was hundreds of millions of dollars spent, whatever their dollars are, in pushing women into those fields and telling them to gravitate into those fields, and they still don't. How do you account for that then?
I mean, I would just say again, because women think about wanting a family with a man and being attracted to a man,
So they're not interested in it.
being attracted.
So they're
attracted
interested
to
in
a man.
something else other than those jobs.
Can I
But
add something?
you-
I do have to move things on. I do have to move things on. But, and also, Andrew, I almost wonder if this conversation is a bit secondary, because isn't it just a defeater in this scenario? Like, when it comes to a societal breakdown, even if there were women who had the interest, there's it's like a black hole, the point of no return. Once there's been enough societal decline in like an apocalyptic scenario, like you are so declined that you're just never, like, if there's just not enough people with like the knowledge base or enough people in this field, there's just going to be like so many cascading problems that like you're not even thinking about getting internet back. You're not thinking about electricity back. You're thinking about like base level
But
survival.
Even easier, all you have to do is just take a look at reason, right? Reason is important when it comes to survival. You have to reason things out. And think about how many unreasonable contradictions I just went through. Women are really interested in these jobs, but they're not interested in them. There's a gender divide, and if the government were to produce tons of propaganda towards these jobs, women would then be interested in them. And that was her position. And then when I explained, hey, but that's already happening, then it became, well, I think that women just have other interests again. In this case, men. They're just interested in men. Which again demonstrates that they have other interests than what these jobs are. So it's contradiction after contradiction after contradiction because of a lack of reason. And the thing is like, all you really have to do is think about that for 15 seconds, right? You can see all those contradictions. What Brian points out here is he says, this is way past the curve, right? He says, wait a second, if societal decay got to X threshold, there's no coming back anyway. And it's not like we're going to rediscover the technology of anvils and, horses and buggies and things like that. That's not an overnight thing. It would take us time to regress in technology. That's true. But the thing is like, immediately, I don't even think she believes her own position. So it's like, it can just be categorically rejected anyhow.
I do have to get some chats coming in here. We have Chris.
Chris donated
Thank you, man.
$200.